basically, I wanted to share with you a moment of my own imposter syndrome because sometimes I talk about imposter syndrome or people will see me talking about imposter syndrome and they don't think that I've ever felt it, which is 100% untrue. I've felt imposter syndrome many, many times. And usually at the time of your elevation or when God is trying to escalate you and move you into different spaces, imposter syndrome is kind of a part of that journey. So anyway, I talked about going to the International Leadership Summit. I was invited by TD Jakes' PR team to go as a social media influencer. Now, as a social media influencer, I got press credentials, right? So, excuse me, I got the opportunity to do what the press does, to interview people and go into the press room and the press conferences and all of that stuff. And it was so great and so fun. However, because that's not the lane that I'm typically in, I was feeling the weight of imposter syndrome about it. So I'll give you a prime example of this. So I wanted to interview Dr. Cindy Trim because I love her. I think she's so inspirational. I love the work that she does. I love what she stands for. She's been an inspiration to millions of people. So that was one. Now you can interview not all of them, but several of the speakers had press conferences and you could do the interviews. So when I went into the press room was where they do the press conferences. It was like red carpet, step and repeat, and then a line of press cameras, like the people who were from newspapers, radio stations, television stations, magazines. They all had all of their equipment lined up in front of the red carpet so that they could capture footage and take photos and everything like that. And their equipment was meant for the moment. Like they were there because they were press. Having said that, I was the only social media influencer that was there. I don't know if I was the only social media influencer that was invited, but I definitely was the only one that was there. So basically what they do is they put your name on a piece of paper and then they say like what news outlet you're from. So when you ask a question, it's like, Susan from so-and-so magazine, Johnny from so-and-so television station. Well, mine said Dr. Tracy Timberlake, social media influencer, which is fine. I love being a social media influencer. I have been a social media influencer longer than I've been a coach. So that is perfectly fine. But in that space, it just seemed inadequate. You know what I mean? Like, it seemed like it just wasn't enough to be like social media influencer, just talking about Instagram versus this major radio station or this major publication. So that's number one, is I didn't feel like the title matched what the moment demanded. Second of all, because they had all of their equipment lined up, they were there because they were press. I was there because I was an influencer. So I'm thinking I'm capturing, social media content. So I had my phones and I had a little selfie tripod stick. You guys have seen this tripod stick. I've talked about it. It's about this big and then it extends, but it is certainly not professional in any capacity. So with all the professional ones that were, sturdy and they had lighting and the right cameras and just the right everything, there I was with my little selfie tripod stick that was standing at the corner, and every time somebody passed by it and wind would whiff at it, it would just get knocked over because it wasn't sturdy. That's not the kind of equipment that was meant for this moment. So I was feeling very vulnerable and very exposed and feeling like a non-professional because I wasn't there with the proper tools. Imposter syndrome, right? And it was hitting me at that time like, should I be doing this? Like, this is embarrassing. I was almost embarrassed for myself. Now, I am not a person that gets embarrassed easily. I am not a person that experiences imposter syndrome easily. However, in this moment, I was feeling all of those things. So, I do the interview. It's fine because here's the thing there's a couple of things, but it doesn't matter for me. It doesn't matter if I have imposter syndrome. It doesn't matter if I'm embarrassed. It doesn't matter if I don't think I have the right equipment. It doesn't matter if I don't think I'm dressed appropriately. It doesn't matter if I feel like my hair is not what it needs to be, which by the way, in this footage, you'll see that if you watch the interview, you'll see that my hair is not what it needed to be. I'm still going to show up. Like I'm still going to do it. Like if God calls me to do something, we have had a long-standing relationship of him calling me to do things that I don't feel fully equipped for or fully ready for. And he knows that he can trust me with those moments because I'm going to show up anyway. I'm still going to do the thing that I'm called to do. I'm still going to interview Dr. Cindy Trim. I'm still going to have my little selfie tripod stick propped up against everybody else's professional equipment. And we're going to do the dang thing because I refuse to let the emotions that are lying to me about me not being capable or me not being ready to be the reason why I don't show up for the assignment that God has called me to do. And God has trusted me with that over and over again. And so I feel like whenever I do have those moments of imposter syndrome, and I'm like, God, I'm really feeling vulnerable. He's like, that's fine. I know that you're going to do it. I know that you are, so you can feel whatever you're feeling. So anyway, so I do the thing that I'm supposed to do. I do the interview, and then I go home and I go back to my hotel and I'm telling my brother about it because I was just updating him on the weekend and what I was experiencing. And he said something really profound to me. And I will put his response. I was just texting with him on WhatsApp, and I'll put his response up here. But it was something to the effect of, it's okay. Your little selfie tripod stick is enough because David only had a slingshot and some stones. And it was so profound and exactly what I needed to hear in the moment because he was right. The equipment didn't matter. Like who I was and what I was called to do and who called me to do it is what mattered more than whatever equipment I had. Because as we know, and we know the story, David didn't have the sword, he didn't have the shield, he didn't have the armor, he didn't even fit into the armor. But he was confident in what his ability was with the tools that he carried. And those were the tools that I carried. And I did show up in full confidence of doing what I was supposed to do in the moment. And it mattered a great deal. And so the next day, when we went in to do the exact same things, I was feeling a little bit more confident because of what my brother had said. But the point in that is what you have really is enough, and what you have is what God is calling you to use. And if you don't use it, if you don't sort of pick up your selfie stick, whatever selfie stick you have, whatever, that's proverbial, like that's metaphorical. Use it for what it is. If you don't pick it up and use it, then you're not going to be able to fulfill your assignment. If you wait for the right time, if you wait for the right tools, if you wait for the right training, if you are waiting, you are going to be waiting for a really long time because God's calling you to do it now. And secondly, can God trust you with the now? Can you make choices in favor of what he's asking for you to do right now? Can you decide for yourself that it doesn't matter what, like, I can feel the emotion, I can feel the fear, and I can still do it. I can feel the imposter syndrome and I can still do it. Those emotions are fleeting. They don't define me. They are not my identity, and they certainly are not going to dictate what I'm going to do with my next season. And I think for a lot of people, that's exactly what happens, is they look at the things that they're afraid of, they look at what they don't have, they look at the equipment, the tools, the training, the strategy, and they look at what's lacking versus what they have been called to do right now with what they have. So can you say yes to your assignment right now? Can you prepare for that assignment right now? Can you show up anyway because God's calling you to show up with the tools that you have, with the things that you have in your hands today? Stop waiting to be ready. Stop. First of all, you're never going to be ready. Like there's no point in time ever in the history of ever, especially in my life, where I have felt ready for anything that God is calling me to do beyond what I know how to do. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't ready to start the business, but I did it anyway. I'm not ready to speak on a stage, but I did it anyway. I can actually go all the way back to, when I was 18 and God was calling me to like lead worship at church, and I was going to be the worship leader. And I remember going, I don't want to do that. Like that doesn't sound like what I want. First of all, I'm 18. Like that does not feel like I'm ready to do this because I was also pretty much a baby Christian at the time. And I was in the bathroom crying beforehand because I was like, I don't feel ready to do this. And for God to go, you don't have to feel ready. Like, the moment is what it calls for is really this. Don't worry about your readiness. Trust in mine is what God is always saying. Don't worry about your readiness. Trust in mine. Don't worry about the money you don't have. Trust in the money I have. Don't worry about the audience that you don't have yet. Trust in the audience I'm going to give you. Don't worry about the courses, the plans, the strategies that you don't understand yet. Trust in the one that I'm going to prepare for you. And most people don't do that. A lot of people focus on what they know how to do, but it leaves God completely out of the equation if all you're trying to do is figure it out on your own. God has something so much greater, so much bigger, so much more expansive than you could ever imagine. But if you're only focusing on what you can see and what you can hold in your hand, you're going to end up missing out on what God has for you. Show up anyway. Build that trust with God so he can entrust you with more, because he can't give you more to do if the thing that you are called to do right now, you're running from. Okay, well, that's it. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye.